I had built my life around two things: discipline and loyalty. They were the foundation of my career, my friendships, and most importantly, my marriage. For 10 years, I had believed in the life I shared with Olivia. We had a good home, a routine that worked, and enough passion left in our relationship to keep things interesting. At least, I thought we did. Olivia had always been the kind of woman who turned heads. Even after a decade of marriage, she maintained herself with a level of dedication that made men stare and women envious. It was one of the things I admired about her. She took care of herself. She worked out, ate right, and carried herself with confidence. But now, looking back, I realized it wasn't just discipline, it was something else entirely. She had started spending more time at the gym about 6 months ago. At first, I didn't question it. She had always been into fitness, and with her schedule being more flexible than mine, she had the freedom to go whenever she wanted. But something had changed. The quick 1-hour sessions turned into 2. Then 3. She'd come home flushed, energized, talking about how good she felt. I remember joking once, "At this rate, you're going to be living at that gym." She had just smiled, that same easy, charming smile she always gave when she didn't want to explain something. Then there were the little things. The way she suddenly cared more about her gym outfits, buying expensive sets that hugged her body just right. The way she started locking her phone, keeping it on silent when we were together. The way she seemed happier than usual. But the biggest red flag came when I noticed how often she brought up the gym trainer, Brandon. "Brandon showed me a new workout today. Brandon says I need to improve my form. Brandon thinks I should focus more on strength training instead of cardio." At first, I dismissed it. Trainers give advice, it's their job. But then I started noticing how she talked about him. There was something in her voice, something in the way she looked away whenever I asked follow-up questions. She never used to mention any trainers before. Why now? And why always him? I told myself I was overthinking it. Olivia was my wife. We had been through too much together for me to doubt her over some gym trainer. But doubt, once planted, has a way of growing. And it was growing fast. I needed proof. And soon, I was going to get it. The moment that changed everything happened on a Tuesday. It wasn't a special day. It wasn't an anniversary, a birthday, or anything significant. It was just a regular evening, and I was on my way home earlier than usual. I hadn't told Olivia. Normally, I would have called or texted, but something held me back. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was just a long day at work, but I decided to surprise her instead. Our house was dark when I pulled up. That was the first sign something was off. Olivia was always home by now. I checked the time, 6:40 p.m. She usually got back from the gym by 6. I didn't rush inside. Instead, I sat in the car, watching. A few minutes later, I saw her car pull into the driveway. But she wasn't alone. Brandon was in the driver's seat. I gripped the steering wheel, my pulse steady but my mind racing. They sat there for a moment, talking, laughing. Then, Olivia leaned over and kissed him. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss. The kind she used to give me. I didn't get out. I didn't interrupt them. I let them finish their little moment, watched as she pulled away, adjusting her clothes before stepping out. Brandon stayed in the car, waiting, watching her walk up to the door like she wasn't hiding anything. She didn't notice my car. She didn't expect me to be there. I waited until she unlocked the door and stepped inside. Then I got out, moving fast. Before she could even turn on the lights, I was behind her. "Did you have a good workout?" She froze. I closed the door behind me, locking it. She turned slowly, her face pale, eyes wide. "Alex, what are you doing home so early?" I stepped forward, closing the distance. "That's what you want to ask me?" Her breathing changed. I just got back from the gym." I tilted my head toward the window. "You sure about that? Because I just saw Brandon drop you off." Silence. She licked her lips, looking away. Thinking. She wasn't shocked that she had been caught, she was trying to figure out how to handle it. I gave her one chance. Say something. She swallowed. It's not what it looks like. I laughed. That's your excuse? She straightened her shoulders, her face shifting into something colder. I don't know what you think you saw, but... You kissed him, Olivia. She flinched. Just for a second. But it was enough. I nodded slowly. Yeah. That's what I thought. She opened her mouth, but I wasn't done. How long? She hesitated. Alex. How long? She took a step back. 3 months. That was the moment I knew there was nothing left to save. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there, staring at the woman I thought I knew. The woman who had looked me in the eyes every single day for 3 months and lied. And just like that, I made my decision. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I stood in the darkened hallway, watching her, waiting for her to say something that would justify what I had just witnessed. But there was nothing. Just the dull hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and the sound of her breathing, uneven and shallow. 3 months. That's what she said. 3 months of lies. 3 months of sneaking around. 3 months of kissing him while coming home to me. She shifted her weight, arms crossing defensively over her chest. Alex, listen. I didn't let her finish. Did you sleep with him? Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The hesitation was all the confirmation I needed. I took a slow step forward. You did, didn't you? Her gaze dropped to the floor. It wasn't. Don't you dare say it wasn't serious, I cut her off. You've been meeting up with him, lying to me, sneaking around for 3 months. Do not stand there and insult me by pretending it meant nothing. She exhaled sharply, rubbing her temples. I didn't plan for this to happen, Alex. It just did. I clenched my jaw. That's your excuse? It just happened? I let out a breath, trying to contain the rage simmering just beneath my skin. So tell me, Olivia, was it worth it? Did he make you feel something I couldn't? Her head snapped up, and for the first time, there was anger in her eyes. That's not fair. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Not fair? What part of this is fair? Me coming home, expecting to see my wife, only to find her kissing another man in our driveway? Is that fair? She looked away, jaw tightening. I was unhappy. The words hit me like a slap. You were unhappy? I repeated. So instead of talking to me, you decided to start sleep with your trainer? Her eyes flickered with something guilt, maybe. It wasn't just about that. Then explain it to me, I demanded. Make me understand why you threw everything away. She ran a hand through her hair, taking a deep breath. I felt stuck, Alex. Every day was the same. You go to work, come home tired, we eat dinner, watch TV, and go to bed. We don't talk the way we used to. We don't feel the way we used to. And your solution was to cheat on me? Tears welled in her eyes. I wasn't looking for it, I swear. It started with small conversations after workouts. He listened to me, Alex. He made me feel seen. I clenched my fists. Seen? Do you have any idea what I've done for you? How I've supported you, trusted you? And you're telling me that some gym trainer made you feel seen? She wiped at her eyes. I don't expect you to understand. I stepped even closer. Try me. She swallowed hard. Brandon was easy to talk to. He wasn't exhausted all the time. He paid attention. I didn't plan on it going further, but it did. I tried to stop it, but you didn't, I finished for her. She exhaled shakily. I didn't. I let that sink in. Let her feel the weight of what she had just admitted. She chose him. Over and over again, she had chosen him. So what now? I asked, voice low. You've already destroyed this marriage. What's your plan? Keep sneaking around? Or were you finally going to tell me? She hesitated. I don't know. I shook my head, disgusted. You're pathetic. Her eyes flared with something close to fury. Don't act like you're some perfect husband, Alex. My head tilted. Excuse me? You shut me out, she snapped. You're always working, always stressed. When was the last time you actually asked how I was doing? When was the last time you noticed me? I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. So that's your justification? That I didn't notice you enough? That I was busy making sure we had a roof over our heads and a life that actually meant something? I didn't want a provider, Alex. I wanted a husband. I stared at her. You wanted a husband? Then maybe you should have acted like a wife. Silence. She wiped her face, her shoulders trembling. I never wanted to hurt you. I let out a bitter laugh. That's funny, because that's exactly what you did. Her lip quivered. What do you want me to do? I met her gaze, and for the first time, I felt completely indifferent. The rage, the betrayal, the sadness, it was all still there, but something had shifted. I want you to pack your things, I said. And I want you out of this house by tomorrow. Her breath hitched. Alex, please. No. I held up a hand. No begging. No excuses. You made your choice. Now you live with it. Tears streamed down her face, but I didn't care. I walked past her, heading for the door. You can stay in the guest room tonight. But after that, we're done. She choked out a sob. Alex, I still love you. I turned to face her one last time. No, Olivia. If you did, you never would have done this. And with that, I walked away. This wasn't over. Not yet. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room, staring at the wall, replaying everything Olivia had said, every excuse, every weak justification. I had spent years building a life with this woman, believing in her, trusting her. And she had thrown it away like it meant nothing. She was in the guest room. I heard her moving around, probably crying, probably feeling sorry for herself. Good. She deserved worse than that. But this wasn't going to end with her crying in the dark. She had humiliated me, betrayed me, made me look like a fool. Now, it was my turn. By morning, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I left the house early, before Olivia woke up. I didn't say a word to her. Let her wonder where I was, let her sit in her guilt. I had work to do. The first stop was my lawyer. I wasn't just throwing her out, I was making sure she walked away with nothing. We had signed a prenup when we got married, and now, for the first time, I was truly grateful for it. Olivia hadn't contributed much to the house or our finances. Everything was in my name, everything. The house, the accounts, even the car she drove. Legally, she had no claim to anything. I sat across from my lawyer, laying it all out. I want this done fast, I told him. She doesn't see a cent. He nodded, flipping through documents. With the prenup, she's entitled to almost nothing. If you want to push for immediate separation, we can make that happen. Do it, I said without hesitation. And I want her gone today. He looked up. You're kicking her out? She made her choice. She doesn't get to live in my house while she figures out where she wants to go next. Do you think she'll fight it? I smirked. She can try. From there, I went to the gym. I wasn't there to work out. I was there to finish what I had started with Brandon. He was in the weight section, spotting some guy, acting like nothing had changed. I walked straight up to him. We need to talk. He looked up, surprised to see me. His expression shifted from shock to caution. Alex. I didn't let him finish. Not here. Outside. He hesitated, looking around like he was debating whether to make a scene. Finally, he nodded and followed me. We stopped behind the gym, out of sight. I told you to stay away from my wife, I said. Brandon sighed. Look, man, I already told her. You don't get to talk about her anymore, I interrupted. She's not your problem. And you're not hers. He crossed his arms. What do you want? I stepped closer. I want you to quit. He blinked. Excuse me? You heard me. You're done working here. He laughed, but there was no confidence behind it. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious. You quit today, or I make sure everyone in this gym knows exactly who you are. His expression darkened. You don't have anything on me. I pulled out my phone. I have the messages. The times. The proof that you were sleeping with a married woman who was your client. I tilted my head. I wonder how your boss would feel about that. I wonder how many people here would still respect you if they knew you sleep someone's wife behind their back. Brandon's jaw tightened. Walk away, I told him. Find another gym, another job, another life. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then, finally, he exhaled sharply. Fine. I'll quit. I nodded. Smart choice. I left him standing there. I didn't need to say anything else. He knew I wasn't bluffing. By the time I got home, Olivia was awake, sitting in the kitchen with a cup of coffee. She looked like she hadn't slept. Good. She looked up as I walked in. Where were you? I tossed a stack of papers onto the table. Sign them. She frowned, picking them up. What is this? Divorce papers. And an eviction notice. She stared at me. You're kicking me out? That's right. She set the papers down, running a hand through her hair. Alex, please, we need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I crossed my arms. I went to my lawyer. You don't get anything. The house is mine. The accounts are mine. The car is mine. She looked at me like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. You're serious. Very. Her hands trembled slightly as she flipped through the papers. You can't just throw me out with nothing. I leaned in. You had everything. You threw it away. Now, you get nothing. Tears welled in her eyes. Where am I supposed to go? Not my problem. She shook her head. Alex, I know I hurt you, but this is cruel. I laughed. You think I'm cruel? You've been lying to me for months. You've been sneaking around behind my back, kissing him in my driveway. You made a joke out of our marriage. She sniffled, looking down. I never wanted it to end like this. Well, it did. I grabbed a pen and slid it toward her. Sign the papers. She looked up at me, like she was searching for any sign of mercy. There was none. Her hand shook as she picked up the pen. She signed. I took the papers, glanced at them, and nodded. Good. You have until tonight to get your things and get out. She let out a quiet sob, covering her face with her hands. I didn't care. She had taken everything from me. Now, I had taken everything from her. And it felt damn good. Olivia didn't pack fast enough. I had given her until the evening to be out, but when the clock hit 7, she was still here, sitting on the edge of the bed in the guest room, her suitcase only half filled. She looked up when I walked in, eyes red and tired. Alex, I don't know where to go. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed. Not my problem. She exhaled slowly, rubbing her temples. Can we just talk? Just for a minute. I didn't want to talk. I had nothing left to say. But at the same time, a part of me wanted to hear what excuse she would come up with this time. How she would try to spin this, how she would try to make herself the victim in a situation she had created. I sat down on the chair by the window. You have 5 minutes. She swallowed hard, staring down at her hands. I never wanted this to happen. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Yeah, you keep saying that. I mean it. Her voice wavered. I never wanted to lose you. You lost me the second you decided to crawl into bed with someone else. She closed her eyes, shaking her head. I didn't crawl into bed with him. Don't insult me, Olivia. My voice was calm, but firm. I know what happened. You can dress it up however you want, but at the end of the day, you cheated. You lied. You made a choice, and now you're dealing with the consequences. Her shoulders slumped. I made a mistake. You made a decision, I corrected. A mistake is forgetting to lock the door. A mistake is burning dinner. What you did. That was intentional. She sniffled, but I wasn't moved. Why him? I asked. Of all people, why him? She hesitated. I don't know. I shook my head. That's not an answer. She wiped her face, struggling to find the words. It wasn't about him. It was about me. I felt lost. Lost, I repeated. And instead of talking to your husband, you went to him. She nodded slowly. I didn't mean to. I swear. It started with small things. Conversations after workouts. Compliments. He made me feel noticed. I clenched my jaw. I noticed you, Olivia. You didn't notice me like he did. There it was. The truth she had been holding back. I exhaled through my nose, nodding slowly. So that's it? You liked the attention. That's all it took? It wasn't just that. Her voice cracked. It was the way he looked at me, the way he made me feel wanted. I laughed, shaking my head. You wanted to feel wanted, so you threw away 10 years of marriage. Brilliant. She didn't respond. I leaned forward, elbows resting on my knees. Tell me something, Olivia. If I hadn't caught you, would you have ever stopped? She hesitated. That was all I needed to know. Unbelievable, I muttered, standing up. I was going to end it, she whispered. I scoffed. Yeah? Before or after I walked in on you too? She flinched. I don't believe you, I continued. And honestly? It doesn't even matter anymore. She stood up, stepping closer. Alex, please. No, I cut her off. No more begging. No more lies. Tears streamed down her face. I still love you. I let the silence stretch between us before responding. You don't love me, Olivia. You loved the life I gave you. You loved the security, the comfort. But me? No. If you did, you never would have done this. She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. You need to go. Her lips trembled. Where am I supposed to go? Not my concern. She stared at me, realizing I wasn't going to budge. She had expected me to break. To cave. To say something that would give her hope. But there was nothing left to give. She wiped her eyes, nodded, then turned back to her suitcase. She finished packing in silence. When she was done, she stood by the door, suitcase handle gripped tightly. Do you think you'll ever forgive me? I looked at her, taking in the woman I had once loved, the woman I had built a life with. No. She inhaled sharply, then nodded again. Without another word, she walked out. I didn't watch her go. I didn't care where she went. She was gone. And for the first time in months, I felt free. The house was silent after she left. Not the kind of silence that felt peaceful, this was something heavier. Something final. I sat in the chair by the window, staring at the door she had walked out of, waiting for something to hit me. Regret, sadness, relief, anything. But all I felt was exhaustion. I checked my watch. Olivia had been gone for exactly 42 minutes. I hadn't moved since she left. My phone had buzzed a few times, but I ignored it. Probably messages from people who had heard what happened, people who wanted to check in, maybe even Olivia herself. None of it mattered. Eventually, I stood up and walked into our bedroom. No, my bedroom. The bed was still made on her side, the pillow untouched. She had barely slept last night. Maybe she thought she could convince me to let her stay, that I would soften by morning. She should have known better. Her closet was half empty now. The drawers she had used were open, a few stray shirts left behind. She hadn't taken everything. Maybe she thought she'd come back for the rest later. She wouldn't. I grabbed a trash bag from under the sink and started throwing the rest of her things inside. Everything she had left behind went in: her clothes, her hairbrush, the book she had been reading, even the bottle of perfume she always kept on the dresser. She didn't get to leave pieces of herself here like reminders. I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. When the bag was full, I tied it shut and took it straight to the garage. She could pick it up whenever she found somewhere to stay. Or not. I didn't care. I walked back inside, locking the door behind me. For the first time in years, the house felt completely mine. No lingering scent of her perfume, no faint music playing from her phone in another room. Just silence. I sat back down and finally checked my phone. A few messages from friends. Some from Olivia's sister, asking me what happened. One from my lawyer, confirming that everything had been filed. And then, one from Olivia. I don't know where to go. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for a long time. Then, I deleted the message and blocked her number. There was nothing left to talk about. I spent the next few days cleaning out everything that reminded me of her. The house was mine again, but it still felt like she had left traces of herself everywhere. The framed pictures on the hallway table gone. The workout equipment she never used but insisted on keeping gone. The expensive kitchen gadgets she bought and never touched gone. Every item I threw out made it easier to breathe. I went back to work, back to my routine. People asked questions. Some I answered. Most I didn't. Everyone had an opinion. Some thought I was too harsh. Others thought I had let her off easy. I didn't care what anyone thought. I saw Brandon once after everything. Not in person, just a social media post. He was tagged in a picture at some other gym, some new place across town. He hadn't wasted any time moving on. Good. I had made sure he wouldn't work in the same place she had met him. Olivia's social media had gone quiet. No new pictures, no updates. I wondered where she had ended up, but not enough to check. She was out of my life, and that was all that mattered. Weeks passed. Then months. And one night, I found myself sitting in the same chair by the window, staring at the same door she had walked out of. But this time, it was different. This time, I wasn't waiting to feel something. I already knew. I had one.